Hello, I'm Matt from World of Ukes and editor of Uke magazine, and welcome to another edition of What's in Store. If you've not seen these before, it's a regular ukulele Q&A that I do. Viewers of this channel and my social media channels and World of Ukes customers, Uke magazine readers will all send me questions about ukuleles and I'll answer them. So this is a interactive kind of thing, so if you want to pose a question for me that I can answer in the future, please do let me know in the comments below or get in touch via my website worldofukes.co.uk. So let's get on with the first question. The first question is from YouTube user Dragon Love Stalls, and they ask, can different types of string really make a difference to how a uke plays? I think different string types can certainly make a difference on the sound of an instrument, but they can also make a difference in how they play. It's a tricky subject because everybody has their own string preferences. So while I can talk about what suits me and why it suits me, it's probably best advised to experiment with some different types of strings because what I like might not appeal to you. But from my perspective, I have a preference for clear fluorocarbon strings at the moment. I like the sound of those, and I also find that I like something with an average gauge. That's the string thickness. So something like my own World of Ukes clarity strings or Inui Nui clear water strings are just right for me. Fluorocarbon is also smooth to the touch, which I like. I don't like any texture on the string, so I can slide between notes easily, so it's got to be smooth, so fluorocarbon will give you that. Although the types of string material will influence things as well, in general, thinner strings have a higher tension and thicker ones have a lower tension. So thinner strings also tend to ring out for longer, but they're more difficult to push down. And thicker strings have a shorter ringing time, that's sustain in general, but they're easier to push down. So for example, a thin electric guitar string has plenty of tension and rings out for a long time, but it's quite hard on your fingers. But at the opposite end of the extreme, those big thick rubbery strings on a Carla U bass, they don't ring out for as long, but there's not as much tension to prevent you easily pushing down the string. So I like things in the middle, not too fat and thuddy, and not too thin and high tension. So for a more specific example for ukuleles, I find D'Addario titanium strings easy to play on a tenor because they're fairly thick and not so much tension, but I don't find the sustain works for me. They cut off too soon for my ear. And Inui Nui black water strings, on the other hand, they're very thin, but I find them a bit harder to play unless the action is quite low. That's the height of the strings above the fingerboard. So for example, on this Inui Nui Moonbird, which has those Inui Nui black water strings, I like to lower the action as low as I can to sort of mitigate that difficulty of pushing down the strings because these black water strings are so thin and quite tense. The Inui Nui clear water strings that I use at the moment on my own uke, they're between the two, and for me they give the right compromise between ease of play and the sound that I'm looking for. But it is very personal, so the best method is to try some for yourself. You might find a different set can give you a different feel and make a ukulele more comfortable for you, but you're very likely to find different strings give your uke different tonal characters, different sounds basically. So it's definitely worth always experimenting with a few different sets whenever you get a new instrument. The next question is from Kate Templeton, and she asks, can you suggest a fun exercise for improvising when you're bored and on your own? So although I'm surrounded by ukuleles each and every day, I don't actually get a lot of free time to just practice or play for pleasure. So when I do get a chance, I tend to focus on the twiddly bits, finger picking and solos, often things that sound harder to achieve than they actually are. When I play with a band that I'm in, I often take a solo. So one of the things I've been doing of late is playing some simple solos using scales. I record myself strumming in a particular key and then play a solo over the top, just using the corresponding scale, improvising the order I play those notes in. So for example, I'll play over and over C, F, C, G, and I record that, play it back and play a solo over the top. I might focus on a particular section of the fingerboard like this, between the 7th and the 10th frets, using only notes from the C major scale. The note B is also in that C major scale, but I just left it out because I don't like it. To liven it up, I like to bend notes, particularly on the E string, and slide between notes, just to give it a bit of a different kind of feel. And I find that's a pleasurable way to pass the time. So I'll give you an example. The next question is from Juan on YouTube, and he asks, how much do all solid wood instruments improve over time? It's an interesting question which divides opinion a bit. As editor of Uke magazine, I've spoken to lots of luthiers over the years and asked this very same question. Some say they do significantly and others say not so much. But I think the golden rule is, if you're shopping for a ukulele and you try one out, if you like the sound of it, that's great. Then go ahead and buy it. If you're not convinced, I wouldn't bank on some future improvement. You know, if it's good now, go for it, but don't think it's definitely going to improve. I sometimes think that a lot of people who think their ukuleles have improved over time have actually just got better themselves. Their uke sounds better because their skill level is higher. But I think with my own Unaroo, I would say that while it sounded nice to start with, I've had it 6 years now, and I do think it has improved a little. It's a hard thing to quantify, is that improvement, because, you know, if I play it now compared to a brand new one from the factory, I think mine sounds a little richer, but maybe I just got a really good one. It's difficult to say, but I do think mine has improved a bit. So while it's not undisputed that an improvement can occur, it's not definitive either. With ukuleles, I feel that, anecdotally, from my opinion, that spruce and cedar tops are more ready to go. They maybe don't improve as much, but they're good from the start. And acacia and koa, like mine, they do benefit a bit more from improvement over time. And that improvement, I think, is to do with the vibration of the top. As the wood matures and ukes are played and it vibrates a lot, the wood fibres loosen. That allows more vibration in turn. So spruce and cedar, they're not as dense as koa, so perhaps the effect of that loosening isn't as high, if that makes any sense. With koa, maybe it's a bit more marked that improvement could occur because the wood is denser and therefore there is more scope for the constant vibration to make those fibres loosen up. That is my theory. It is very much a theory, but that's what I think is happening. But basically, if it's good now, great, but don't bank on it definitely improving. The next question is from Helka Yaga. It's quite a long one, so I will read it in full. Is it still possible to make even better ukuleles? There are already so many and lots of good ones out there. Where do you discover something new to stock, and is it always because you hear something better, or is it also because the trade keeps tempting us to buy new ukuleles? There's definitely an element with ukulele manufacturers of trying to find a new way to tempt people, particularly at the moment with how the instrument looks. So many companies make a large range of different laminate instruments, for example. They're essentially the same instrument from model to model, but they look different with different exotic looking veneers. So they don't influence the sound, but they can look spectacular. And you'll also see this with colourful ukuleles and those with special finishes like Carla's Sparkle series. So there's nothing wrong with that. They're trying to make them look pretty to make you want to buy them. It's pretty much advertising as it's always been. But I do think with a ukulele specialist, then the focus generally isn't on trying to make you want yet another, but in trying to find new products that perhaps are better at the same price than what's gone before it. So I'm much happier helping a customer to find the one ukulele that they'll keep and play forever. I'm happier doing that than I am trying to find someone or trying to encourage someone to buy one in every size, shape and finish. So what I get most excited about as a ukulele retailer is an instrument that sounds better than anything else at the same price and specification. So in recent years I've been really impressed with the mid-range Miller ukuleles and the entry-level Kai and Kiwaya student models. I've been more excited about those than say something at the top end that's really expensive, very nice, possibly nicer than the instruments I'm talking about, but it's at a price which other instruments are just as good. When I can recommend something that I know is as good as you can get for the money, then it makes my job and my life easier, and also makes me feel content that I've done the best I can in that advice for that customer. As far as the ukulele makers go, a lot of them continue to experiment and invest in making small improvements to their designs. It's hard to see this model to model, as the changes can be tiny. But if you look at it in a long-term way, what you can get now for £200, for example, is so much better than you could get 10 years ago. So it does show you that the improvement process is gradual, but it is getting there. There's steady progress in making better ukuleles at better prices. Finally, we have Tony Evans, who asks, can you recommend any good video resources for ukulele players to improve with? When people are starting out, I often point them towards James Hill's $1 ukulele course to get the absolute basics down without the bad habits that I picked up as a self-taught player. I think he's patient and clear, so for new starters it's a good little course to do. I'll also mention to people to look up Phil Dolman's YouTube channel for quick free videos that are really useful, like his 2-minute tips and his trick of the week series. He's extremely knowledgeable and likeable, which helps. Personally, I'm often in a quandary because I want to improve as a player, but I run a business which has taken over my life and I don't get much chance to actually sit and play and practice. But I'm trying to reverse that at the moment, and I'm doing a fingerstyle course with my friend Alex Beds from Southern Ukulele Store. He's put that course together at his Ukes with Alex website. So he's very experienced, very clear, and I've been enjoying that so far. So for people who want to get to grips with fingerstyle, I would recommend Ukes with Alex. So that was What's in Store, episode number 5. So if you haven't tired of hearing my voice already, which you may well have done, there are 4 other episodes you can watch on the World of Ukes YouTube channel. There you'll find nearly 400 other ukulele videos too, so if you want to subscribe, I'll be adding more videos all the time and you'll get a notification on YouTube to let you know when I've recorded a new one. So thank you very much for watching. If you have a question, do get in touch or leave a comment below, and I'll see you next time.
worldofukes.co.uk worldofukes.co.uk